welcome AIPAC Director of International Affairs, Stephen Schneider.
Good afternoon. I hope this morning's plenary with the world leaders was fascinating for you. It was great for us and those announcements about the embassies. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to our showcase session. Today's lineup rivals any Sunday morning news program, and our guests literally span the globe from Israel, Cyprus, South America, and the United States. Just this morning, as I mentioned, we had the chance to hear from the leaders of 3 countries in the general session. There are very, very few events outside those hosted by the major international organizations that bring together that kind of experience on one panel discussion and with that individual speaker. Our next guests are a continuation of that conversation, an opportunity to hear from government leaders from around the globe about Israel's growing international partnership and emerging role on the world stage. My first guest is Nikos Cristodoulides, the Foreign Minister of Cyprus. In recent years, Cyprus has grown especially close with Israel, cooperating in a variety of fields, including energy security and counterterrorism. Next, we are joined by Luis Almagro, the Secretary General of the Organization of American States. OAS has 35 member nations, including all of North and South America, and Secretary General has himself been a former foreign minister of his native country, Uruguay. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Foreign Minister of Cyprus and the Secretary General of the Organization of American States. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this 3-hour conversation on world affairs. Minister, I want to start with you. I have traveled to Cyprus and the Mediterranean region for a number of years. It is astounding to me, and perhaps not surprisingly, the transformation of the relationship between Israel and Cyprus and the Mediterranean region. In fact, there was a very important meeting held last week in Jerusalem. Maybe you can expand on that.
Let me first of all thank you for the invitation. It's a great honor to be in the conference and address such a distinguished audience. Actually, one of the reasons that the situation changed the last 10 years, it was AIPAC. It was your work that brought Cyprus and Israel together, and of course the United States. Cyprus and Israel are 2 democratic, predictable, reliable countries in the Eastern Mediterranean, a region of great international interest. And especially the last 6 years, we start working together in a number of areas. But if we want to see how the relationship between Cyprus and Israel was developed, we have to see it within 3 spectrums. The first one is a bilateral. We're working together on energy, security and defense, health, tourism. The most important is the increase on the number of contacts between Cypriots and Israelis. I have to say that during summertime, number one, the flights that are coming from Israel, the majority of flights coming from outside Cyprus is from Israel, and the majority of flights outside Cyprus is towards Israel. So this is a clear indication of the bond between our people. The second level is a trilateral level. We decided before, in 2014, together with Greece, and we formed this trilateral cooperation between Cyprus, Israel, and Greece. And we're working together on a number of areas, again, energy, terrorism, counterterrorism, also within the European Union, which is very important that Cyprus and Greece, they play a critical role within the European Union in the discussion regarding Israel, but also the region in the whole. And the new level is this multilateral level with the participation of the United States. As you very correctly mentioned, last week we have an excellent meeting in Jerusalem, the Prime Minister of Israel, the President of Cyprus, the Prime Minister of Greece, with the participation of the United States, with Secretary Pompeo. We discussed about the need to enhance regional cooperation, to work together on energy issues, and also to defend the region from those countries that they will probably try to create problems in our energy cooperation, especially energy cooperation. We will mention later much more about energy and how we start working together from energy, but now our cooperation is at all levels. But for me, the most important is the cooperation that we have between our people. Because as you know, government change every 5 years, every 4 years, government change. What is important to be there is this bond between Cypriots and Israelis. And this is the best if you want to safeguard that this cooperation will continue.
I do want to get back to the energy issue because I do think that's critical, but your country and Greece are to be congratulated for creating this trilateral, and it's great to see the U.S. becoming the fourth member in the quadrilateral. Secretary General, and speaking of Israel, in the summer of 2017, as Secretary General of OAS, you visited Israel, and you said, and I want to quote, "Israel is essential to us," meaning the OAS. "Israel is our essential partner in the Middle East." Israel is also an observer member of OAS. What did you mean by that, and what does Israel bring to the table for the OAS members?
In the Organization of American States, we deal with democracy, human rights, security, and development. If you just look at these 4 pillars of the organization, you can see very clear that Israel can make huge contributions to all member states in order to reinforce our capacities, our possibilities, in order to develop, in order to increase our security, to fight better against terrorism, to fight better against cyber terrorism, to fight better conditions that kept the Latin American continent under the level of development. And of course, it is an example for us that within a hostile environment, you still can be a democratic nation and you can still respect human rights. And that it is a relevant example for all our countries. So we want our countries to be more and more engaged with Israel in bilateral relations, and we want to stand also for Israel that any contribution to the region and sub-regions can be done through the Organization of American States.
Well, I think this hemispheric conversation we're having is very important because it speaks of the relationship-building powers and the importance of that. So, Minister, if I can come back to you on the issue about energy security, which is, I believe, and you would maybe agree, one of the foundational issues that has brought the East Mediterranean together. You've got a couple different components, including the proposed East Med pipeline, Israel being a potential contributor to European energy questions. You have the East Med Gas Forum, which it also includes Jordan and the Palestinians and Egypt. So tell us a little bit about how this energy corridor, these energy corridors are important for not only your country, not only for Israel, but also the people of Europe.
The energy potentials of the region of the Eastern Mediterranean are huge. And energy actually it was the turning point in order to start working all together. Israel, Cyprus, Greece, Egypt, Jordan. So the European Union, as you very well know, they are looking for an alternative energy routes. So the Eastern Mediterranean can be one of the alternative energy routes for Europe. What is important is to examine all possibilities in order to create what I would say an East Med corridor to Europe. And when we say East Med corridor, there are a number of options. One option is the East Med pipeline, a pipeline from Israel to Cyprus, to Greece and Italy, and from there to Europe. Another option is to having an LNG in Cyprus, and from there...
Liquefied natural gas.
Exactly, yeah. So there are a number of options. What is important is going to be 2019 and 2020, because during those 2 years, we're going to have a number of drillings in our region, in Israel, in Cyprus, in Egypt, and based on the results, we are going to decide together what is the best option to have this East Med corridor. In the meantime, as you are probably aware, 3 months ago in Egypt, we have for the first time the establishment of this energy forum with the participation of 4 countries in the region, except 2 countries, except Turkey and Lebanon, are the 2 countries that are not present in this organization. And we believe that it is very important to start discussing how we can work together in order to have better results on the energy potentials of the region. Security, if I may go back to security, security is a very important aspect of these energy developments because we need to safeguard that we are not going to have any problems. So I'll give you two examples. Last week in the declaration between the Prime Minister of Israel, the President of Cyprus, the Prime Minister of Greece, and the Secretary of State, there was a clear message about the need to work together to defend against any country that they will try to create any problem on the energy cooperation in the region. On the intergovernmental agreement that we prepare with Israel, Greece, Italy, and Cyprus, there is a clear provision that the four countries they will work together to defend the pipeline. So the security aspect, the energy security, is an important aspect of the discussion we have in the region in order to develop Eastern Mediterranean as an alternative energy route for Europe.
I mean, it's heartening to hear of a European country and a foreign minister from Europe say that Israel can be part of an answer to some of Europe's concerns. So speaking of security, Secretary General, I want to ask you a question about some of the harder security issues facing, let's say, Latin America. Terrorist groups. I remember when we had a meeting with you with our CEO about a year and a half ago, we talked about the terror entities and, could Israel and the West be part of the answers? I'd like for you just to speak for a second about what are the terrorist issues. Hezbollah, for instance, which gains tens of millions of dollars from Latin America. How do you see the terrorist issue unfolding? And can a country like Israel with this unique expertise in fighting terrorism be part of an answer?
About the fight against terrorism, there is a very important point that we shouldn't underestimate, and it's anti-Semitism. And we have to be very clear, and our countries should react strongly to any, even the lightest or smallest indication of anti-Semitism in the continent. If we see what has happened in the past in our continent, we have the two biggest terrorist attacks in Latin America were done under those bases, were the attack against the embassy of Israel 27 years ago, and then some months later the attack against the AMIA in Buenos Aires. So we should have a very special concern about this, because then we have this fundamentalist terrorism, and that is fed completely under this anti-Semitism basis. And we have to be very strong in condemning this. Saying that, we need the support and the help of Israel in fighting anti-Semitism in the continent, in making it very clear all about the continent. Then we need your technology and we need your information, because these are key aspects in the fight of terrorism. Terrorism doesn't have borders. Today you can have major impact from anywhere in the world to any country in the continent. So we really need the international support in order to fight cyber-terrorism or terrorism attacks in the continent. We need knowledge, and we need capacities. We need more professionalism. And we need also something very important, is to be aware that nobody is free, that any terrorist attack can happen to anybody, anytime in the world, and that the continent is not free. And especially considering the situation of Venezuela, that have distributed passport to Hezbollah and Iranians in a very generous way, and that opened a door for their operative in the continent. And that is something that we need to reverse, fighting every country to deal with these issues of security that are permeating, because these people are becoming political actors in the continent. They are playing games in the continent. And we need, of course, to reinforce the security with the support, of course, of those that they have better capacities for that. And that Israel definitely has a role to play.
So, Minister, 60 days ago, the AIPAC Board of Directors and our professional leadership were in the Republic of Cyprus, meeting with you and the Defense Minister, and most importantly, the President, in a historic AIPAC Cyprus meeting. And they were told of the strong and increasing bilateral relationship between the countries, I'd like to go along the same themes of the Secretary General about the hard security issues. First off, if you could just say for a second the security issues that Cyprus confronts in the East Mediterranean, and how, as much as you can talk, how Israel and Cyprus are cooperating in the East Med region.
First of all, let me say that we are looking forward to receive you again this summer. AIPAC is always welcome in Cyprus, and you are one of our stronger partners, stronger allies in what we want to promote as common vision for the region. As I mentioned before, the security aspect is very important. And we have a vision for our region on security issues, a vision that Israel shares, Greece shares, other like-minded countries of the region share. And this vision is to create an organization of security and cooperation of the Eastern Mediterranean, or of the greater Middle East, if you want, even to include some countries from the Gulf states that we share same values, same concerns. And the only way to face all those security threats is by working together. No country can defend itself alone. So it is very important to work together. And with Israel, we're working both at bilateral level. I'm sure that you are aware that military exercises from Israel are taking place in summer in Cyprus twice a year. But also we're working together to have some new military exercises together with Greece and some other countries, including the United States. As I told you last week, the security aspect, especially on the energy issue, it was part of the discussion in Jerusalem. But what we really want to achieve in order to face all those problems is to have this, to establish this organization, a security organization of the greater Middle East with Cyprus, Greece, Israel, and other like-minded countries.
Well, listen, we certainly encourage and support the growing relationship between Cyprus, Israel, and the United States, working with your government and your terrific embassy here. It's been a pleasure on this piece. And I want to probably go to the last question to the Secretary General about the issue of Venezuela, which obviously is maybe one of the key security issues facing the region and OAS particularly. What is the best outcome, and knowing that there are Jews still left in Venezuela, what is the best outcome that we can hope for at this point, and also with the protection of the Jewish community?
Yes, because as it was said in 5 reports done by the Organization of American States and the reports made by 2 human rights high commissioners of the United Nations system, the Venezuelan regime, the Venezuelan dictatorship, it is a problem for the whole region. Destabilize the whole region, brings insecurity and instability to the whole region. So we have to be aware that we have to act, and we need to act. We have a way forward today that is to support the transitional government of Juan Guaido. That is the most peaceful tool that we have today about the Venezuelan issue. And we have to be strong. And I ask every single country in the European Union to support this process, because it's the only way out, it's the only way ahead. Any other solution, like to remain like we are now, it means more humanitarian crisis, more migration crisis, more poverty in the country, people dying because of lack of medicine, lack of medical treatment, lack of food. So we can, the region and the country itself and the people can't afford that. We need to support this process, and we need to make it strong, and we have to provide the conditions of security for this to move forward. This is a criminal regime, no? Their logical is criminal. So it is like you have there some actors that definitely they wouldn't give up just so easy. We have ELN, FARC dissidents, the Mexican cartels. We have at least 22,000 Cubans operating in the region, and Cuba is not a part of the solution, it's part of the problem. The pressure, the biggest sanction that the Venezuelan people is receiving today, are getting today, is to send practically 1/3 of their oil exports to Cuba in exchange for nothing but more repression and more oppression of the people. So we need definitely to move forward supporting this transitional government because it's the only way, peaceful way to democracy that we have available.
Well, listen, I mean, this is challenges and opportunities in both the organization, the country, the regions, and hopefully we as friends of both the country and the institution can be helpful. And we certainly appreciate your outreach and your friendliness to not only AIPAC, but to the State of Israel. And thank you for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary General of the OAS and the Foreign Minister of Cyprus. Thank you very much.